Good morning, everyone. Today is August 4th, 2020. I hope all is well. Today, I would like to share with you some important information that I feel would be most appropriate at this time. But before I jump into it, I just want to once again open with thank you for your time for logging in this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whenever your schedule allows. And that's just it. We have 1,000, just close to 1,100 students at PS42. And finding a mutual time conducive for every household is really hard. The last time we did a all school meeting, we had about 70 families log on, which is great. We're very happy. We also recorded that session. But to really make sure that everyone has access and the ability to observe and learn a little bit more about what's going on, we're trying this protocol, a recorded Zoom. At any given time, even during this presentation, when you're watching it during a convenient time for your household, log on to the school and drop a question or an inquiry, and we're always here for you. And so thank you for your time. And today's intentions are there's about 5 intentions. I'm going to walk you through it. But for the most part, I want to make sure that we connect, and we'll be using this venue as well as letters as we move forward. So today's intentions, I'm planning to share information, approximately 15 minutes, if that, with you. And the intentions that we're looking to discuss are: one, review of the models that were offered to us from the New York City Department of Education, and talk to you about our model selection and how that was made. An intention of also talking to you about how we will be scheduling our students when we shift into gears of using that blended model. And then also introduce to you, start sharing information with you, school health and safety items that the city is starting to roll out. And then, of course, how do you connect with us? And the frequently asked questions, as we keep getting more information and insight, we'll be sharing with you accordingly. So there are the intentions for today. So let me continue and jump into those models. So New York City Department of Ed provided schools on July 8th a deck. That deck itself is on our school website. It's a pretty comprehensive PowerPoint, and there's multiple decks, multiple models within the deck. Models for schools that are perhaps District 75 or high school, strictly middle school, and elementary schools. So every type of school that's available to us in New York City Public Schools, there is a model choices that you can choose from. And so when we looked at PS42, what's available to us, we have 2 models that were fitting and both approved by the Chancellor's Office. Model 1, which has 2 components, A and B, and Model 2. So just out of the gate, I just want to share with you, on the 14th of this month, August 14th, we will be presenting to our superintendent, submitting our plan. And then also an important date also coming up this week for parents. I know you know this, but it's worth reminding you that if you're choosing to go full remote learning, that deadline is August 7th. And just a little footnote and a reminder, and this was also in our frequently asked questions. If a family wanted to shift from blended learning to remote learning, you're in blended and you're feeling like this is not working, you want to shift into remote, you can do that at any given time. Vice versa, if you are a remote learning student and household and you want to shift into blended learning, that could also be done, but that transition from remote to blended learning can be done during certain windows. The rationale for that is the city felt strongly that at any given time when a family wants to go into blended, just give schools the opportunity to absorb and be able to modify and adjust schedules, because the blended learning models are very thoughtful, and we don't want to just have students come and go. It has to be controlled. So let's look a little bit at what that first model choice looks like. Model 1, which is A and B. And if you haven't noticed, I know you looked at the decks in the past in these models, and I put it in my letter last week as well. But the overarching goals here with this model is 2 in-person cohorts. This is a very attractive model. We like it. But what we looked at right away is our class sizes, dividing up our classes into 2 groups, A and B, and then whatever students chose to be going full remote. We like that idea. So A and B will rotate on Mondays and every other day, or in person for 2 days. So like looking at this model, it kind of makes sense. It's a very attractive, and we were very much interested in looking at that. As we continue to look, we also looked at model 2. And this is a 3 in-person cohort, some variation by week. Group A will go on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you look at the chart, every Wednesday, every Thursday, and every Friday, there's consistency. But what changes and modifies is the Monday and the Tuesdays. And so in a nutshell, 5 days of attendance, a student will be engaged in remote learning 5 days every 3 weeks. It will be a cycle. So take the time to read over the literature on the left-hand side of that screen. So we looked at these 2 models very carefully, and no decisions at the school ever get made without consultation and collaboration. And so what we did is through shared decision-making, our school leadership team came together. And I'm thankful for our team. Our team is made up of both parents and teachers. And what we did is we did a deep dive and looked over at all the data that's available to us. This Department of Ed provided us with schools' capacity data, the square footage of all our rooms, and keeping in mind that every student has to be 6 feet apart. We also reviewed the preliminary data that the parent surveys provided us, and we learned approximately 19% of the students that our families responded, about 19% were thinking about full-time, staying home, and approximately 58% of parents said that they're interested in sending children to school through a blended learning. Again, this is all preliminary data, but we wanted to take that into consideration. We also looked at the data that we did a survey at the school level, and right away, everyone said, yes, model 1, we like that choice. And I was that guy too. I liked it right away. We were looking at it very carefully. As we continue with deep dive and looking at our data that's available to us, we also looked at the actual class sizes of our registers. And we learned that through K-5, our average class size has 27 students in each class. And so if we looked at model 1, if we took the 27 divided by 2, which is two cohorts, A and B, we end up with 13.5 students, 13 and a half. I shouldn't even say students, it should just say 13 and a half, in this case students. But when we look at the class size, the classroom size, the data from the school capacity data states 9 to 12 people. And so putting 13 students in a room that holds 9 to 12 people, right away we realized this model 1 is not going to work for us. And as a default, we had to look at model 2. And doing the math, it fits. 27 students divided by 3 cohorts, A, B, and C cohorts, we end up with 9 students as well. And that can allow for paraprofessionals. We have over 35 paras working in our building. Again, we're just short of 23% of students with IEPs. And we have a lot of supports in our environment for all learners. So the 2 teachers in some of our classrooms for ICT and classroom teachers in paras, and when you do the math, mathematically model 2 is our option that we will have to utilize. And so looking at model 2, we will be submitting that to the superintendent and along with our plan. But as we're shifting gears into the remaining weeks of August, and it's going fast, the assistant principals and I, along with our parent coordinator, Denise Sarno, and Joan Fazio, our pupil accounting secretary, we're going to be creating a schedule that is conducive to model 2. And so when doing that, we're looking to recognize siblings in every household. and making sure that our schedule, your assigned day, is as conducive as possible for your household. Folks, I just want to jump in here before I forget saying it. Is this the best plan? No, it's certainly not. But I keep looking at it this way. During the month of March, April, May, and June, the lack of there was no opportunity. There was no engagement whatsoever. The only time we really got to see each other was at a parade, and so looking at these models, this is better than what we had in the past. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But we're going to look to make the best of it. So looking at when we're developing a schedule, we want to be mindful of your households and siblings. And we're also looking to engage. I started talking already to IS7 and the same thing on their end, some feeder schools. And I'm looking to have conversations with 75 and IS24 and IS34, and looking at not only what model they're using, but how could we support, how could we as leaders, to the best of our ability, administration when designing schedules, is it possible? So it's going to be something we're going to look to do. And of course, when we do our schedule, we'll be looking at making sure our cohorts A, B, and C are balanced as well as possible, and also take into consideration students who come to school by bus. How will that work? And so are we going to have so many kids in one day who take the bus and the other day is light busing? So we're going to look to make sure that we stay in the guidelines for busing. And of course, as we plan, we look at students who require related services as well as learning styles and student strengths. And so we really want to have a balanced, healthy opportunity for students when they come in with their peers. Shifting a little bit into health and safety, the city has 4 overarching tenets that they will be using as their guides along the way to ensure a healthy and safe environment conducive for all of our students, all of our parents and families, because students come and they go back home, and that's important. And the same thing applies for our staff. And so the 4 tenets, A, B, C, and D, A meaning being promoting behaviors that reduce the spread, simply making sure that social distancing is taken into consideration throughout the day and at all times, wearing face coverings, washing our hands, and also making sure our campus, our floors, our entranceways, our dismissals, every part of this school campus has the appropriate signage and markings. How do we maintain our healthy environments? What modifications need to be made for our school environments? That the city will be providing support on that. For example, partitions in our general office and lobby, and whatever is necessary for our classrooms. And also our custodial staff, and they're cleaning and disinfecting the entire building daily for each day to ensure that the environment remains safe and conducive for learning. So there will be more information coming out on that, more criteria and more details. And of course, maintaining healthy environments, food services will continue to provide food in the morning for breakfast as well as for lunch. And then also, excuse me, how do we support the students who are not in attendance that day? Will we be remaining as a food hub? So I hope so, and I think more information will be coming. And then, of course, testing and screening entry protocols. The school will be messaging the fine details of what that will involve, but I'll just say this at this moment, that we're very big on making sure that kids do not feel minimized or uncomfortable, and we will make sure that we create a culture that is friendly and appropriate. And so I don't want children or adults or anyone, including staff, as they come into the building, feeling uncomfortable. Okay, so we'll be messaging the details of what that screening and testing will look like. And then, of course, tenant D, preparing for when someone gets sick. So what is the protocol when someone is sick? Staying home, of course. Forgive me, my allergies are killing me today. And perhaps I'm allergic to hurricanes. But returning to school after symptoms, what will that look like? What are the details? And how will the school respond if there's an unconfirmed case? Mr. Sharkey, I heard so-and-so this, I heard so-and-so that, or a friend of mine or someone on the bus today, or I heard someone in this class. So how schools will respond to unconfirmed cases, we'll be sharing with you the details, and of course, confirmed cases, and then also if there's two or more. I can share a little bit in the next slides as well. Forgive me. So again, promoting behaviors to reduce spread is very important. All right, that should work now. So physical distancing, it's very important that we remain 6 feet apart at all times. This is including when we're entering the building, leaving the building, using the bathroom, walking about the classroom at all times. And we're looking to reduce the opportunity for students to walk around. So traditionally, period 3, we're going to art. Well, what will that look like? We're looking to modify our schedules to the point where less transitioning, the better. In case there's someone who has COVID, it will reduce the opportunity for it to spread, and it keeps your kids very safe in this protocol. Face covering is required for all students, but there will be exceptions, as stated below, based on a child. So for example, a few parents asked about sensory, a few parents asked about my child's ability. So what we're going to do is have those conversations with you, and with proper documentation, as well as using the CDC and Department of Health guidelines, we're going to look to really make sure everyone stays safe and sound. And if an exception needs to be made, we can do that according to what we're allowed to do. So more to come with that as well. And then again, it's essential that hand cleaning constantly there's access to sinks and sanitary, this hand sanitizer and soap and water, etc., making sure everything is appropriate. And the city will be requiring and providing us with all the appropriate signage that's necessary to support this culture. So in case of COVID case, if this was to happen, the chancellor put out a letter on August 3rd, just yesterday, and I hope you got it, and please take the time to read it. But in the event, if a child's classroom has a COVID case and it's confirmed, okay, we will be closing that classroom, and students and staff themselves will be required to self-quarantine for 14 days. So that's a very serious shift right there. And that's something that I think it's important that you have an understanding of. If there's more than one case, let's say there's another case in that room, that same protocol will follow. However, if the case happens outside that classroom, proper information will go home immediately, and the Department of Ed will close the school down for at least 24 hours until further notice, depending on the New York City trace and health investigation, to make sure they have a handle on what exactly is going on. So my third point on this bullet right here, need to pivot, to me that means more information than anything that's written on this page. What does that really mean, need to pivot? Well, as a dad and running a household, and also as a principal, I'm suggesting to our families to really have plans at any given time that you will need to pivot to and adjust, because at any given time, based on the conditions in our school, your child's classroom, and or in our building, we might have to shift into a different protocol based on the data that's been coming in regarding COVID. So please be mindful. I know you need to make decisions by the 7th, but this is something I also think it's important you take into consideration when making decisions. Folks, as I mentioned in the letter, and I really want to tell you that letter was, a lot of time and energy went into it with respect to just listening to the virtual general office and looking over the series of questions that have been coming in. And so I wanted to once again put it here in this presentation, that we will continue to be asking and looking to get clarity on all of this. But as we get closer and closer, will the teachers who are working at PS42, will they also be the ones responsible for full-time remote learning? Parents are asking that question. And then also, this is a very, very important piece, childcare. Whether you're an essential worker or non-essential worker, but to be honest with you, you're all essential to your children, and you're all essential to ensure that your kids are safeguarded and childcare is provided. So regardless of what you actually do for a living, your child will be in school only a certain number of days. And so who will be supporting them when they're home during remote, during that portion? And so if you need to have resources and you need someone to support your child, we are looking to make sure you get access to those to the information to support you. It's my understanding the mayor mentioned that they are opening up sites for all types of families, regardless of your schedule and what you do for a living. And what I mean by that is if you're essential and non-essential, not just like what we did in March, April, May, and June, but for all families. So we'll share that information. And of course, we have close to 200 families in our STAR program. And our morning care program, we have close to 100 families. And so we have on average, if you think about it, close to 300 families, close to, depend on us for morning and after care. And so we would like to continue that. I looked over the data and the reports that the city provided the state for planning purposes, and they do talk about aftercare. And I was happy to see that there is element in that thinking. But I also want you to be mindful that we didn't get word yet. I do know, though, we will need to provide a very safe and clean environment for our students in aftercare, meaning we can't use an environment that was used earlier in the day. And if we are using it for aftercare, it has to be cleaned and then cleaned again thereafter. And the same thing will apply in the morning. So we're looking to advocate to have that for the children who attend on that day and make that a self-sustaining program if it's possible. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you. And busing, if students come to school by busing, how will that look? What will that look like? And how will we provide social distancing? And how will the buses be cleaned? And most importantly, as our custodial staff starts to utilize the cleaning protocols, we'll be forthcoming and sharing that with you. And as that information comes to me, I'll be giving it to you. It's important. We're very transparent on that. Our custodial staff at this moment, the entire building has been cleaned from top to bottom, every environment, every surface, every area. And it's going to remain that way throughout the duration of blended learning. But we'll share with you all the details. And then, of course, the finer details about student health and temperatures and how that'll be monitored. We're going to get all that to you. So as we shift into the last slide, and I'm looking at the time, and I apologize if I went a minute or two over 15 minutes, but I just once again want to say to you that the virtual general office is a very busy place. Every day, people are utilizing it, and our staff, our parent coordinator, our secretaries, myself, we're writing back to parents, we're calling parents, we're getting back. No question goes unanswered. So please use that. And if you have any feedback or wonderings about what was shared today, or as new information surfaces on your end and you have wonderings, please utilize the virtual general office on the news and announcements, and also anything we put out, whether the chancellor's office or the school. And we'll be putting out a lot. We will continue to do that. We will be filing that under summer notices. So the last piece I just want to state is if you did not get a text or did not get an email, and if you're noticing and you're thinking that, and please, you're deputized, if you will, as you talk to your neighbors and your friends and other families, please, we're all one. We work together as a team. Have those conversations. Ask, hey, did you get that text? Did you get that email? And if there's anyone who is not getting a correspondence from the school, whether it's a school messenger, a voice, a text, an email, or any presentation that's going out, please utilize the virtual general office and just say, hey, could we have a conversation and looked as to why my house is not getting this information. As we continue to work in this fashion, it is extremely important that we have the ability to connect with you. So as I close up today, I just want to go back to you and your families. I hope everyone is healthy, safe and sound, and remaining safe and sound. And I also hope that the weather that is in the forecast today keeps everyone healthy and safe. So be careful. And just want to let you know that we're always here. Okay. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks of continuously messaging and connecting with you. And as information comes in, it's daily, every day, something new is coming in, which is good. Looking at it, what we did in the past, we didn't have much access to each other, but it seems that we're going to be working together again, closer now. And as we get through this, I just want to always be considered an advocate of yours. And thank you for having confidence in PS42. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, everyone.